There he is.
Oh.
Wow, he just threw you right on the screen, Coach. Didn't even give me an opportunity to
Hey, when I call the number, Coach,
didn't even give me an opportunity to introduce him. I guess let's jump right into it since the surprise is ruined. Thanks, Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to the show. 2025 Baton Rouge Regional Champs. National Championship Coach Jay Johnson. Coach, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you. I appreciate you being so flexible with your time tonight.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah.
I am where I am tonight, so it's all good.
No doubt. Well, Coach, we're not going to keep you long. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, the conversation I'm sure you've talked a lot about was this past weekend. And so before we get to West Virginia, I want to talk a little bit about this past regional. Obviously, Little Rock came in extremely scrappy. Everybody wants to look at the record, do all these types of things. They were in the championship of the regional for a reason. They were playing good baseball. They're fouling everything off. They made you work, and they put you in a position where it was kind of hey, we gotta look ourselves in the mirror and kind of figure this thing out. And you throw Kason Evans in the game, and Kason Evans seemed like he was I don't want to say the last hope, but one of the last guys that has the ability to go long and kind of give you some extended innings as a freshman in that moment, in that situation, season on the line, and he brings out his best performance of his career so far. Talk a little bit about that and some of the other performances that happened and kind of propelled y'all to a championship.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable performance, but very believable when you know Kason. And the regional is one of the toughest weekends to manage, of the whole season. Obviously it's the first time your whole season's on the line. You're condensed potentially into the most games in the smallest amount of time that you play all season. There's some strategy with how to set up the pitching. If you fall into the loser's bracket, it's kind of one game at a time, desperation mode, but you're also trying to match up still. And then it's the great position to be in the 2-0 thing, but it's a little bit, you got to think hard on how to navigate that. And if you're behind, in that 2-0 game against the team that's 2-1, how do you go about doing that? And, we have a really good offense, so you obviously want to believe in it. But I loved having that, what I would call ace in the hole for Monday night. I really believe in him, obviously really believe in Zach, and knew we would have Anthony for, 3 to 6 outs, and felt like that was a good insurance policy, whatever you want to call it, and worked out pretty good, with the exception of, giving up a big inning. Very, very few times are you going to give up a 5-run inning and be able to win.
Right.
But, felt really good about, having Zach and Kason and Anthony is kind of plan A, and that's how it worked out.
Coach, I kind of want to go a little bit further than that, because I got to imagine, especially like you said, like that's a tough situation, right? Like there is so much trust in Zach, so much trust in Kason, and like you're in a win-all, do-or-die situation, but it's also the second inning, and I get it. You give up 5. Like, how do you make the decision on, all right, I think we need to get him up. All right, I think he needs to get hot. Hell, it's time for us to bring him in at this point, knowing what you got right there,
Yeah, so first off, going back to Sunday's game, like the plan was, like, let's say we're up 5-1. One of them's going in,
right,
and then the other one's finishing it. But then when we fell down, 6-4, then it became like, okay, if we can get it to the tie game, then I'm comfortable putting one of them in. But then that's tricky too, because we're playing in our ballpark, but we're the visiting team,
right.
So, and you don't want to sacrifice like losing the whole deal by just being greedy. So how that kind of played out, even in the 9th inning, in the bottom of the 8th inning, where they actually opened it up, it actually kind of simplified things a little bit, and it made me feel like validated, like we didn't win, but we operated that game the right way and felt like we had a really good plan A. Now, to your question, Jared, on Monday, there was a kind of a thought of how we were going to do the game and break up the game. And, I told him, after the first inning to go down there. Like, my plan initially was if Zach got us into the 4th inning, we were in really good shape, because then you're looking at 3 to 4 from Kaysen, and then 1 to 2 from Anthony, 3 to 6 outs.
Yeah.
So really just kind of watching how well Little Rock had played to that point. And then it was an evaluation of the first time through the order, how they were seeing pitches, reacting to pitches, how long would we be able to get them to? Was it going to be a one-time or a 2-time through the order type thing for Zach with, keeping us out of the big inning? And then it's like, hey, it's a 1-game season at that point, and you can't wait to, I guess you would say, fire your bullet. And I just felt like once it got to 3-1 traffic, maybe the way that Little Rock was just hot, man. We needed to change it up, and then it was like figure out that later. And then, we had some options still, like with, Rizzi and Shores had thrown just enough pitches, or not quite enough pitches where they were available. And then Connor Ware was available, and Primo, if we needed to match up to kind of bridge the gap from Kaysen to Anthony. And so I just felt like, hey, I can't let this thing get too much further, because you guys know this. It's a whole lot different 5-1 than like 7-1. And, in a championship game, you don't want to be behind by a lot. But the most impressive thing to me of the whole night was our dugout when we were down 5-1. Like, these guys were locked in, high-level conversations, no panic. And they shouldn't, because, we've come back from a game like that at home like 4 times this year, and had some really good success.
But those situations, too, that brings it a little different. I love that you mentioned that, because down at home is a little bit different than, hey, this is the last one if we don't win this thing. And those conversations could change from dugout to dugout. You just don't know, that's a different situation.
No doubt. And we talked about it a lot. And I really believe this, with all the postseason experience, whether it was at Arizona or here, like, the team that scores first and has the lead in the postseason has a big advantage. Like, it's a big advantage. And especially when you have, some pitching options that we do. And we really wanted to work ahead in the game. Sunday, we jumped out to 3. It obviously did not work out that way, but that's a credit to Little Rock. And again, one last, I would say, massive hat tip to those guys. They played their rear ends off, coached well, and that was part of the decision to start Anthony on Friday. Was if we needed him on Monday, we would have him available. And then watching them in the conference tournament, it didn't take me very long to go like, I'm not judging the cover or whatnot. We're going with Anthony.
Yeah. Coach, one more question about this past weekend, and then we can move on to West Virginia. You talk about the Sunday game and talk about, you had opportunities early on. You had, I think, the second, third, fourth inning. You had the opportunity to kind of break the game open, kind of catch back up, and it just didn't work out. Guys flew out, missed some pitches, and then you go to the next game, and you have Kaysen Evans come in and do his thing. And then that opportunity comes, and you can kind of feel the crowd just kind of bubbling, and it's like, okay, here we go again. You knew at some point somebody was going to have to step up to get the big hit and get you going. And Ethan Fry did that. Cool. He did feel like he did that all weekend.
4 times.
He did it 4 times that game. Opposite field double that I felt made a hole in the wall. I think it was 117 miles an hour. Cleared the bases, and it kind of felt like you got a big exhale from everybody, obviously in the crowd. But then even in the dugout, like, okay, just takes one, and now we go. Ethan Fry this year has been nothing short of sensational for y'all, and then obviously he's playing his best baseball now. Talk about that moment and talk about how much of a I don't want to call it a relief, but I guess a fire starter for the offense that was.
Yeah, that really helped. I think we had 2 really good at-bats in front of that. We pinch hit Ashton Larson, which going into the game, we kind of laid out a plan of how we were going to win, and him getting an AB with a runner on base was definitely part of that. And we did it early too. And I told him, don't be surprised if it's early in the right spot. So good at bat by him. And then Derek walked after that. And then, we shuffled the deck to get Ethan up to the plate more. And it obviously really paid dividends right there. And, one of the reasons we did that, and, you guys just mentioned he's been so solid. It's because he's solid mentally and has the ability to slow the game down and stay in his plan and not try to do too much. And, he certainly did that all night on Monday. That's one of the best games I've ever had a player play. And you consider the magnitude of the situation, it makes it even more, awesome. It kind of reminded me of Dylan's game in Game 3 of the finals of the College World Series against Florida.
And Coach, don't be shy. You can give yourself credit for shuffling the deck. I mean, somebody has to make that decision. It was you.
Yeah, I just thought about what would Lloyd want me to do.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Lloyd said, you know what? I think Ethan Fridays hit 2 all. I probably should text Jay.
Yeah, just
That's
text
what happened.
Yeah,
Giving you credit, Lloyd.
let's bet Cade Beloso leadoff. Works.
Yeah, there you go. Just, we're just throwing it up against the wall. Hey, let's try this.
Jared, you got one for him?
Yeah, Coach, I got one for you. It's not necessarily about any of the games that y'all played, but I just can't, I feel like this was a hot topic. We had a conversation a lot over the weekend. The format of the regional, much like, like college football, there's so much media coverage that comes around it. And when there's something that doesn't look right is going on, it's like that they fix it, right? Like just this past year, we implemented the playoff system. We found out once we got to the playoffs that it didn't play out the way we were thinking. Higher seeds, people got seeded higher than. If you get the regional at home, and we're going to play a home regional, why the hell aren't the higher seeded teams always the home team? It doesn't make any sense. There's no way y'all don't think about that as well. Yeah,
no, and I've been a 2 seed a few times on the road and have totally taken advantage of the rule that worked against us this weekend. Kind of a funny story. In 2016, we were at Louisiana Lafayette, and we won like the 1-1 game. I think we were playing Sam Houston State. And then now we had to beat ULL twice. And I was like kind of doing the math in my head. I was like, holy cow, like we're going to be the home team in both of these games. And then it was before the rule, like that you could stay in your own dugout. You had to switch dugouts.
Yeah.
And then we had like we had the red jerseys. That was like kind of our version of the gold jerseys. And ULL always wanted to wear red in like the last game. And I was like, I went up to the tournament rep and I was like, we're the home team, we're in the third base dugout, and we're wearing red all day. And so I was like, wait a minute, like this is actually the opposite of that now. And so we just, all we did really is we didn't even make a deal of it with the team. We just alerted them like, hey, we're the visiting team. Tomorrow, let's be ready to hit first, ready to score 2 in the first. And we did on Sunday. We scored 3. Yeah. Ethan had a homer on Monday. So I don't think that was really a big deal. Now, at the end of the game, it did make a factor, with how we were going to use Anthony, because it was like, all right, if this thing gets stretched into extras, he only has so many pitches. All right, we have to have a contingency plan after that. So, I would here's my proposal is, okay, if you play a team 3 times in a regional, the higher seeded team in the third game is the home team. I think that would solve that would solve that.
I mean, and the thought process of it too, like I get, you're the 1 seed in this situation. Like it's obviously not always going to be the 1 seed, but if it's set up this way and it goes to a game 7, man, I gotta have the home team, the 1 seed, being the home team in the game 7. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, and matter of fact, like I was laughing about it last year because like I knew the rules. Same exact thing happened, and when we beat North Carolina on Sunday night, I saw Scott Forbes, who I have all the respect for in the world, like losing his mind talking to the reps. And I'm like, oh, they're telling him we're the home team.
I wish they would scrap that, but we got to change that, man.
I'm on board. I'm on board with that.
Yeah, it just got use common sense. It's game 7, host seed or the higher seed should be the home team without a doubt.
But Coach, did you go heads or tails?
There's no more coin flip.
There's no coin flip either? That's what you said. There's no coin flip. It's just
wow. Damn. Yep. What would you have called?
I don't know, but actually, good. Actually, I just remember this too. It's the same in Omaha, and we were the home team against Wake Forest in both of those games. Also, because we fell in the losers bracket, so it meant we were visitors one more time than them, and lucky for us, Tommy Tank.
hey, when it's on the other foot, it makes it feel a little bit better, no doubt.
Yes,
no doubt. All right, look, you have a big series win, you have a big regional win. You got to move on from it at some point. You get West Virginia this weekend. Obviously, West Virginia was not the team going into the postseason that they're playing the Clemson Regional. Everybody just assumed Clemson was going to come. West Virginia is a really good team. They swing the bat pretty well. Not a big homer team, but a big double team. I know you love doubles, and that's something that you've preached a lot about. They hit a bunch of doubles. They have a bunch of guys that can drive the balls in the gaps. I know you're doing your scouting right now. I know you're kind of getting into it. But what are some of the problems that West Virginia poses? Obviously, they swept through their regional and they made it here for a reason. So what should we expect to see from them?
Yeah, I'm actually almost done with kind of the position player side of it, and at least as far as what I do, the coaches are into it all week. And very old position players, very confident, very aggressive style. They do a really good job putting the ball in play. They're well coached. Coach Saban's their head coach. It's his first year, and guy I've always been impressed with from afar. And I mean, this is their second straight super regional, and so that's a credit to them and that program. And they recruit well and have good athletes, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. I mean, they're the Big 12 champions. That doesn't happen by accident. And really good team, really good couple starting pitchers. Couple hard throwers in the bullpen, and they play with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. So good, really good opponent, and we're going to have to play very well to be successful this weekend.
Coach,
I'm glad you mentioned the starting rotation. And when you have a short series like this, how important is it to really tax that Friday night or that game one starter, if you will? How important is that?
I mean, I just think that's good baseball, period. Yeah. And so, it's foundational. So, I mean, in this situation, I mean, the guy throws like 125 pitches a game. So it's like not like he's going to be coming out or anything like that. Yeah. And so, and I mean, shoot, they actually did what we did with Ianson on 2 days rest. They actually did it on 1 day's rest. And he finished the game 3 of the regional. Wow. And so, he's obviously a competitor and he's obviously tough. So I don't even know if it really matters other than what's, offensive productivity, in this game, to be honest.
Coach, I know a lot of people are having conversations or asking questions that aren't obviously baseball people and talking about how is the rotation going to set up now that Anthony threw on Sunday. That was kind of similar to like a bullpen day, I would imagine. That was, day 3. I'd imagine he has a bullpen. You have a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if necessary, Monday. So, K's on full rest, Iason's on full rest. That's not really going to affect any way that you kind of manage the rotation, correct? It's just kind of a matchup game. You're going to decide, who matches up with who and go that way?
Yeah, we haven't made any decision on how we're going to do that yet. I think with all of the players right now, making sure they're in a good spot as we're deep into the season is the first and foremost priority, for them to be able to execute, because you have to win 2. And I'm not really, totally there yet as far as how we're going to lay it out or draw it up. But we'll just do what's best for the players, best for the guys to go out and be successful.
Coach, I got to ask about him because, he ended the game, or his last at-bat ends up being a bang. And how big do you think an at-bat like that is for Bear Jones to be able to kind of take the monkey off, go through the week and do his work and not have to really think about the lows or the ruts of things that happens and get back to where he is and doing this thing?
Yeah, first off, he's been a phenomenal leader and wants to win and just wants to keep playing. And I think that's where a lot of the, self-induced whatever pressure or whatever comes from, just because he cares a lot. And I love that about him. And really, we kind of just went back to work, even Monday, and like when we've needed to get him back on track, this is what we did, and we did it. And he was ready to roll. Him for that. And like I said, I think it can have a positive effect going forward, but I would trust him anyway, whether that swing happened or not. It sure made his coach feel a hell of a lot better going into the 9th inning, I can tell you that. Matter of fact, I was so excited, like I get this big fist pump, and I woke up the next morning, I'm like, God, my arm is sore. I'm like, oh my gosh, it was when he hit the home run. I got so excited.
I was there with you, Coach.
Went a little too fired up, I guess.
Nah, it can never be too fired up. Last question before you go. You've had a lot of big games in Baton Rouge. I don't know I don't believe that you've had a regional deciding game at home on a Monday at 8 p.m. And, you've had, obviously Tennessee came here a couple years ago. They came in this year. Arkansas came here this year. You had some rain delays. Talk about the crowd and how special that was, showing up on a Monday night and having the energy and doing what they did.
Yeah, I think it's by far the best experience I've had in the box. And, there have been some really, really good ones. Tuesday night to me in the box is awesome.
Right.
I have so much respect for the engagement of our fans, but kind of two things happened in that game. I felt like they really lifted our team when they needed it the most. Like, if they were a little, anxious if we were going to come back and win, and maybe disappointed we didn't get a couple key hits or whatever, or carry over from Sunday night, or the games were too late because of ESPN, like they stayed with it. And that was the first thing. And I feel like that really, really lifted our team. And then once Ethan got that big hit, then they did what they do, and they made it really, really hard on the opponent. And, and the opposing pitcher. And they've done that this year. I think, I want to say it was the Arkansas game. I felt like they really affected that game that we won in extra innings. And I thought they certainly did that on Monday night. So, it's been great since I've been here. Regular season games, SEC games, Tuesday night, postseason. But I'll say Monday night was my best experience of the crowd really impacting our team in a positive way that since I've been here.
Yeah, the box is it's magical, and there's been many of times throughout my career as a fan and even as a player where you felt like the crowd made a difference, and so you could feel that watching the game, whether you're watching on TV or you're in the crowd, and hopefully they're gonna, I have no doubt they're going to continue that going into the Super Regional. Coach, we appreciate you again. Thank you for being so flexible with your time. Sometimes you just got to deal with
idiots,
some adversity.
I've called myself a bent nickel.
Yep. But we appreciate you. Good luck this weekend. Looking forward to.
You're not the only one that gets advice from Skip.
I actually used that speech before, and I didn't even know it came from Skip when I did it. So then when I found that out, I was like, it's all meant to be. It's all meant to be.
Absolutely. Enjoy the weekend, Coach. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to be there. Good luck, and hopefully we'll be talking to you next week and before y'all go to Omaha.
All right, guys.
All right.
Have a great night.
See you.